Okay, so this is going to be a review for Shiloh by Shelby Foote. I just finished reading this the other day, and this is a novel about the Battle of Shiloh. So it's historical fiction, very much in the same kind of vein as The Killer Angels by uh, Michael Shara. It's told from the perspective of several different men here. Let me see. I believe there's 7 chapters in this book. This is copyrighted from 1952, so this came out before his Civil War narrative, his 3-volume Civil War narrative that I'm actually working through. I kind of wanted to take a break from that for a while and read something else, so I picked this up and read it, and it was very good. It alternates. So if you look at the chapter list, chapter 1 is told from the perspective of Lieutenant Palmer Metcalf, an aide-de-camp to Albert Sidney Johnson's staff. Albert Sidney Johnson being the Confederate commander of all the Western forces, one of the highest-ranking generals in the United States at that time, who actually, spoiler alert, died on the first day of the Battle of Shiloh. Very famous story, although a lot of people are not familiar with the Western theater of the Civil War. All of the Eastern theater gets all the attention. This was one of the biggest battles of the West. It took place in Shiloh, Tennessee on April 6th and 7th of 1862. And this is a pretty good book. I'd say it's better, in my opinion, than The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane. It's very similar to that, although Stephen Crane's book is more fictional. I don't think it's really a real battle. This is. So like I said, chapter 1 is Lieutenant Palmer Metcalf, so it's told from the Confederate perspective. Chapter 2 is Captain Walter Fountain of the 53rd Division of Ohio, so there's a Union story. Then chapter 3 is told by Private Luther Dade, a rifleman of the 6th Mississippi, so we go back to Confederate. Then chapter 4 is Private Otto Flickner, a cannoneer of the 1st Minnesota Battery, so Union. Then we're going to switch back to Confederate with Sergeant Jeffrey Polly, a scout in Forrest. Nathaniel Bedford Forrest is cavalry. Chapter 6 is a squad in the 23rd Indiana, serving under Major General Lew Wallace. And then the final chapter is, again, going back to Palmer Metcalf, who is now unattached. So he bookends the book. He's the chapter 1 and chapter 7 are Palmer Metcalf. Now, this was based on, there's a historical footnote here by Shelby Foote. So I'll read that part to you. He says, here, historical characters in this book speak the words they spoke and do the things they did at Shiloh. Many of the minor incidents also occurred, even when here they are assigned to fictional persons. I hope the weather is accurate too. This was made possible by the records left by men who were there, and the memoirs of Grant and Sherman, and the series of articles collected under the title Battles and Leaders of the Civil War, and particularly in the reports of officers, forwarded through channels and collected in Volume 10 of The War of the Rebellion, a compilation of the official records of the Union and Confederate armies. There you hear the live men speak. General Johnston's biography, written by his son, William Preston Johnson, and published by Appleton in 1878, remains the consummate study of Shiloh. It was this book which first drew my interest, and it was this book to which I returned most often for information. Section 5 is based in part on a paper, Forrest at Shiloh, read by Major G.V. Rambut before the Confederate Historical Society of Memphis and published in the 19th of January, 1896 Commercial Appeal. Robert Self Henry's biography of Forrest, published by Bob Merrill in 1944, contributed much to this section as well as to others. The two best modern studies of the battle are found in Lloyd Lewis's Sherman, Fighting Prophet, by Hardcore Brace, copyright 1932, and Stanley F. Horn's The Army of Tennessee, Bob's Merrill, copyright 1941. I have drawn on both. Authorities at Shiloh National Military Park gave me the run of the battlefield, surely one of the best preserved in the world, and were invaluable in locating the scenes of action. Also, I think no one who studies our Civil War should make a list of acknowledgments without mentioning the photographs of Matthew Brady and the writings of Douglas Southall Freeman, Shelby Foote. So, he consulted a lot of historical documents in writing this book, and he actually visited the battlefield, which is really interesting. This was a fast-paced book. I read this relatively quick. It's only 222 pages overall. He's got a map of Shiloh in the front. That's really all you're going to get. Okay, again, I would suggest maybe watching something on YouTube about the Battle of Shiloh. This was a very confusing battle. It only was fought for 2 days, but unlike other battles like say Gettysburg, for instance, you'll have that battle moves around. So on day 1 they fight over here, and on day 2, you learn about the Devil's Den and Little Round Top, and day 3 you end up with Pickett's Charge. The battle kind of moves. This battle was fought on the same ground. So these guys they push in and they drive the Union back, and then on day 2 they end up fighting on that same ground as the Union pushes them back. And this was a very I would say important battle in following the capture of Fort Henry's in Donaldson by General Grant. The Confederate forces begin to consolidate around Corinth and begin moving towards Shiloh because there's this railroad junction there. So it's very important for control of the rail lines, and that's why this battle was being fought. Of course, PGT Beauregard, General Beauregard is mentioned in this book as well. You have all your principal characters, Grant, Sherman. It's got plenty of action. There's really some horrific scenes that take place in this. There's some things. I mean, Shelby Foote is a great writer. If I had one critique on this, on this book, because I really enjoyed this book. Don't get me wrong. I really liked this a lot. And I just couldn't give it like a 5 out of 5. I don't think that this is the best writing that Shelby Foote has done. I think from what I've read of his Civil War narrative, it's the best. This is a work of fiction, like I said. But if you're looking for a quick read, something that's enthralling, that's going to grip you, this is a fantastic book. I would highly recommend this. I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. It's not perfect. I enjoyed some chapters better than other. Some of the exposition delivered by the characters in this book feel a little clunky. That's my only, real gripe on it. The only thing that I would point at and say, yeah, I don't understand all this exposition. It feels kind of unnatural the way that it's being delivered here. But other than that, fantastic read. This is one that I'll probably read again, years down the line, because it was thoroughly enjoyable. And like I said, I think it's better than Stephen Crane's Red Badge of Courage, although I don't think it is as good as The Killer Angels by Michael Shar. Of course, that's a Pulitzer Prize winning novel. The one thing I will say that's different about this book is that that book is, the Killer Angels is mainly from the position of the generals on either side of the battlefield, right? This is telling it from the perspective of officers and men on the ground that are serving in the army. And again, Shelby Foote is a great writer. Okay, this was thoroughly enjoyable. That's all I got to say. I got to return this to the library and get me something else to read. I got to finish that Civil War narrative. Man, that thing is a beast. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.